there's a dailiness to my hope. You know, my hope is that, you know, no I think it's just like that no child here doesn't have hope for their future. This consumes us here. This permeates the very existence and spirit and soul of this place. It's a small community, has a deep gash, and it affects everything. I didn't have any idea in the beginning how deep the story here goes and how painful that story is if you're really willing to take a look at it. There is blood on this land. There is blood on this land. There's some things that have happened and they're not okay. And when we talk about them, that's hard. But to not talk about them is to pretend like something really painful didn't happen here. And then wonder why, you know, why do we have all this conflict? It's just an incredibly sad tale. The land that we are sitting on here today was former tribal land. I mean, people have lived in this basin for 12,000 years. If you keep unfolding this story of what has happened, there were clearly, in my mind, trespasses against the tribal people that were here first. There just were. As time rolled on, circumstances created situations where there was scarcity for other groups of people. You know, everyone has their own story, they have their own ways of viewing things, they have their own history, they have their own understanding. And to a lot of people who live here, the conflict that rides around in this place is threatening their livelihood and threatening them. They need to fight for their own corner so that they can survive. There was a great deal of loss of life here. At one point, Beatty in the small town of Chiloquin had like the highest murder per capita rate in the United States. People were killing each other. It was scary. We were scared of each other. People were scared of each other. When we do not find the ways to have the conversations that matter, then we live in hell. We choose to live in hell. The water was shut off in the project in 2001, which created extreme hardship for that community, extreme pain for that community. You know, people committed suicide, farm workers didn't have work, the amount of domestic violence shot up in the community. There were tremendous hardships that happened when those farm families had their water shut off. The next year, downriver, there was a tremendous die-off of salmon in the lower river. I mean, thousands of fish died over miles of river, and to the tribal people downriver, you know, that's their existence. There's been a few significant meeting turning points in this basin. In 2005, I was part of some meetings. It was really the first meetings that people were back in the room, even having a conversation with one another, even willing to be in the same room. And Levi, my youngest, was a baby, and I had him with me in these meetings because he was little, 2, 3 months old. But it was mostly tribal people and some of the project farmers. The farmers who were there were suddenly, like the light was kind of clicking on for them of, okay, we are beginning to acknowledge that maybe something has gone wrong here. These farmers are sitting around the table and they're, they're like very, there was a practical sort ofness to them, like, okay, so you've, sort of like you've lost fish, you've lost fish. How many fish did you lose? And maybe we could pay you. Like we could pay you a certain amount for the fish that were lost. What was lost is so great, it's not something you can buy. But at some point in this meeting, I asked Alan Foreman, who was the tribal chairman at that time, I said to him, Alan, what would it mean if somebody just said they were sorry? And he just started to cry. And he said, that would be worth $1 million. And here's these farmers, and they're just sitting there, and it changed them. It changed them. It changed them to this day. When people begin to acknowledge that something maybe has gone wrong, that's a precious time. It's not a time to throw rocks. There's probably been 12 times in the last 17 years where really significant things have happened. And it's because there's a vulnerability. We have these beautiful water agreements, and we're waiting for people who live far away to decide that they have merit, that issues that are very much part of the federal government are very much part of how we live or don't live here into the future. But even if those agreements get blessing somewhere far away, that won't fix it either. It still comes back to, how are we going to be with one another? How are we going to treat one another? And that is kind of, that's a timeless thing. It goes deeper than just respect. You can just feel if people are choosing to have each other's back or not. And when they do, there's something really precious that comes out of that. At the heart of it is just kindness, and people choosing to take care of each other or not.